Hello and welcome again to this video. In the last video, we have showed all the likes count. We have showed everything what user is doing on the website. Here you can see all the tweets, but there is a very big problem here. What is the problem? The performance problem. If you can see on our Supabase dashboard, the requests are 14,708, which is a huge request, which is like this can't be true. So we are doing something wrong here. What we are doing wrong? So let's assume we have 10 tweets and we have 100 users. 100 users are minimal, not a lot. So let's assume we have 10 tweets and we have 100 users who have visited our web page. And now each of the user will send each request for each tweet. So this means each user will send 1000 requests every time user refreshes the page. Or if the user has liked any tweet, then he also fetch like 100 requests. So this is like huge burden on our server and we don't want that. Why it is happening? Because you can see on our main component, if we are fetching get tweets, this is totally fine because we are fetching it only once and this is totally fine. But what we are doing, we are rendering all our tweets here and we are fetching again and again this thing. So let's assume this component is being rendered 2 times, so we will fetch this request 2 times. So this is very bad. So we can't do this. This is a very bad approach. We have implemented this approach. We have seen that this is getting us some problem. We are facing some performance problems. Now we will resolve this. How we should resolve this is using ChatGPT. So in this video, I will tell you how you can utilize ChatGPT to get all the results. So basically, we want to fetch all the tweets single time. We want to fetch tweets with the likes count, and we want to also assure that are we including or do we have liked the tweet. So the user who is authenticated in the current application is liked a single tweet or not. So how should we do that? So we can run a plain SQL query because Supabase client library doesn't provide a query like that. It is a complex query, so we have to build a plain SQL query on our own because we are not using any ORM for now. If you use an ORM like Prisma or Drizzle or Tailwind, something like that, you can do it with ORM. But here we are not using an ORM. That's why we have to define a single performant SQL query. So for that, as I said, I am not good at writing SQL, so I have used ChatGPT to help me here. So you can see these are my SQL tables and I have pasted all the SQL tables which we created. I want to fetch all the tweets with likes count. Can you give me the best way to achieve this? So it gave me how you can get all the tweets with like count, so we don't have to fetch the likes count again and again for a single tweet. So it will give us the likes count. Another thing which I have said to it, also I need to include in that query if the current user has liked the post or not. So it gave me the SQL query that give me tweets.all. So this means give me all the rows, and it is saying that count all the likes as likes count, and it is finding that if likes.tweet ID is current tweet ID and likes.user ID is current user ID exist or not. If it exists, then user has liked this tweet, otherwise it is not. So this is how it is finding all the tweets, and from tweets, and this is left joining the likes table and it is grouping the tweets by tweet.id. So this is how it works. And then I told ChatGPT to order it by latest tweet on the first of our web page. So it gave me order by. So we can copy this query and you can go to your SQL editor and you can create a new query and you can paste it here. And I have checked it, it is totally correct. And if you run this, you will find all the tweets. But for that, you have to get the current user ID. So let's assume our user ID is something random. So this means this user doesn't exist. So if we run this query, then you can see we have an input of UUID. So let's find out the correct UUID here. So for that, I have recently queried the same thing. So what I can do, I can show you. This is my user ID. We will pass this user ID to the function and this to query. So this is a big query, you can see. And now if we run this, we can find out all the tweets with the latest tweet on the top. This is a new tweet from another account. And we can also find out the likes. We can also find out if the current user has liked this post or not. So if you go to bottom, you can see we haven't liked this, and we can see if we like this tweet, you can see now we have liked. And if you run this query again, we should be able to see true here. So you can see we are now getting true. So this query is working. So now we have to run this query on user main page. So here, instead of running a lot of queries again and again, we will only run one query and it will improve our performance. So for that, to connect this database to our application, we need something called PG pool. So if you search PG pool, PostgreSQL pool on the internet, you can find out this package, and we will use this package to query our database like this. So let's install this. Let's remove this thing because you can see we are sending a lot of requests to the server and it is very bad. We don't want to send too many requests to our server. So we will install npm install PG pool in the source. Here we will inside the DB in the utils, not in the utils. Yeah, you can create here PG pool, or you can create a new folder called DB. Here in the DB, you can say index.ts, and here you can define your pool. So all the details you can read, and let's go to GitHub and find out how we can use this pool. So PG pool, we have to also install the PG here. So let's copy this and install everything we need. PG pool and PG, both the things we need. And then we will use PG pool to create our database instance, and then we can query our database. So let's copy this also. Instead of variable, we will use const. You can supply custom client constructor if you want to use the native Postgres. Okay, so we don't want this thing. We also don't want this. We also don't want this. So we need to define all the options here. Import pool from PG pool like that. You can see we don't have the types. That's why it is not showing us auto completion. So we will install the types. npm install PG pool types. So we are installing the PG pool types as dev dependencies, as you can see. Now, if you hover over it, you can see all the types. And if you try, you can see all the stuff here. So the database is Postgres, and the connection string, which we will get from the database, not env, we need it from import. Okay, so we will define process.env dot our connection string. So what we will do, database connection string. So I will go to my env, which is confidential, and here I will define my database connection string. And you can go to Supabase on the project setting in the database. Here you can find the Node.js database connection string. Copy this thing, paste here, and here I will reset my password. I will regenerate my password so that it is good confidential, and now I will paste my password here. So now this is my database connection string. I will copy this and I will use this here just like that. And I can define the other options as well. Allow exit on idle, true. Now we have a pool. So how to query? Okay, so let's see all the things. SSL is true. Yeah. So now we can query like that. Pool.connect then and then catch like this. Play nice with async await. So we want to use async await. So let's use that also. So what we will do, we will export it. Export const pool. So pool.connect, and then we can use this. So instead of directly exporting this, we will define our client and then we will use this const db is equal to await. Or instead of doing this, we can use this thing. This is a self-calling function. Const pool is, we already have a pool, and then we will say pool.connect. Okay, this is good. And then we can find the result and all the things here. Your new favorite helper method. So we can directly call this also. What do you think? Because it's so common to just run a query and return the client, the pool afterwards. PG pool has this built in. So we directly query this. That's good. So let's do this one thing. First, export this pool, and then we will use this. Export this for now. So we will go to our main component. Inside here where we are getting all the tweets. So instead of this, we need to run the query. So return is equal to await pool, import the tool from DB, and then we will directly query the stuff. We will directly query the stuff. So like this, select $1 means this thing, text as name. So we will copy our whole query, which is this. Copy this thing, we'll use this. You can see tweet story star, and here we are using the current user ID. So we want to pass this as a, so we will pass this thing like this. So if you go to current user ID, here you can see this is our current user ID. And in the example of PG pool, here you can see this is our, so we can ask ChatGPT to return the query with the PG pool. So we can say return the query with using the PG pool and random UUID variable. So you can see this is our connection string and this is $1. So we will say instead of this, this is our $1, which is the parameter, and then we can directly query like that. Don't forget to release the pool. So this is how you can leverage ChatGPT here. So we'll copy the whole thing, paste it here. We will also copy the query Yeah, so this is our query and we are passing the current user ID, and here we can get the current user ID as well, which is a string. Here our query, and here we are getting everything. So now if we go to main component, here you can see this is complaining. This is complaining that you have to get the user ID as well. So we can do that. That's not a problem. So what we can do, we can pass the user data over here. So user data dot user dot ID like that, and we can cut it from here. We can paste it, and here instead of this we can say this is a string. And when so we can define two queries here. So query with current user ID and query without current user ID. Like that, we can copy the whole thing. We just need to change a few things. We need likes count, but we don't need the user has liked. Simple. So we can run this simple query. So what we need to do is, if the current user ID exists, then query. So we can define the query temporary here, which is a string. Let query is a string, or we can say this is query without current user ID. And if the current user ID exists, then we can say the query is query with current user ID, and then we will run the query. We will pass the parameters and we will process the query result like that. Pool.end, and that's all what we are doing now. Let's remove this for now. We don't need this. We don't need this as well for the moment. Let's comment everything out and we will see if this is working or not. So pnpm run dev, and we should be able to see something for now. So now if you go to localhost, if you try to refresh, we should be able to see something here. Yeah, something went wrong. Cannot use a pool after calling and on the pool. So something went wrong. Error, password authentication failed for user Postgres. Okay, password authentication has failed. So why is that? This is our pool database. Okay, so we don't need this database thing here. We can directly use without connection string like that. Can connection string directly. And from PG, yeah. So now if we try to hit the refresh, and we will see what is happening. Yeah, we get something now. Authentication failed. Executing query. Authentication failed for user Postgres. So this means our connection string is not correct. So let me correct my connection string. So to check if this is connecting or not, we will first, let me reset my database password again. Reset the whole password, and I will use here again. Good. Pool mode. Yeah. 6534. Okay, so connection string is this, connection pooling is this. Let's copy this thing. This is for the connection pooling. I think we need to use this. We can try it. We can see what is happening. Refresh this. Yeah, we are okay. So now we got this. Okay, so after changing, we have get everything we want. You can see we are getting ID, text, profile ID created it, updated likes count, and user has liked or not. And that's totally awesome. And we can just return this whole query result from here. So if this doesn't exist, we can return nothing. And if it exists, we can return result.rows like that. So what you need to do is you need to use this pool here, this one, connection string for connection pooling. Not this one, and then it will work. And now we are efficiently querying everything. Okay, but it is still getting some problems, like cannot use a pool after calling and on the pool. Now we can remove this thing and we can modify our tweet type, and we will return everything. So here we are returning all the tweets, and here we will render everything we need. So res.error is, so if this is error, so we can return the error. Inside error, we can return a message, db querying failed. And here we are returning all the rows, res.data, and we can wrap this whole thing in the data like that. We can use async and await here, but we are not using that for some reason, because ChatGPT gave to us this thing. But yeah, that's also possible. Here we can, for this moment, we can say this any, but this is not a good idea. So if you come here, if you refresh this, nothing is visible, and we are still fetching all the things here. We don't want these things. Likes count, tweet dot likes count, and the other thing is which we are getting is in the queries, you can see tweets dot likes count, and otherwise is user has liked. So tweet dot user has liked, so this thing, but there is a chance that this doesn't exist, so we will wrap this whole thing in the boolean. Here we are saying tweet type, but we will define any for the moment, so it doesn't show us any error. Save this whole thing, res.data. Let's log this thing so we can see if we are getting something on the client. We are not getting anything. Let's restart the whole server. Sometime you may need to restart the server to get things working. Okay, so we are not getting anything, and it is still sending a lot of requests to the server, which is auth request. We are sending a lot of auth request. Why is that? Do we in the like button? So in the like button, queries, index, console.log, let's log the result as well. So you can see what is happening. Result. Yeah, something is working here. Yeah, we are getting the result basically. Result.rows. Then why it is not being shown? Yeah, we are getting the result as well. So return the data. Okay. So the problem is if you visit the pull documentation, you can query like that. So we will use this async await, not this thing. I don't like this. So let's cut the whole thing. Const result is equal to await pull.query because it is a promise and we can see now the query result. And we can wrap the whole thing into try catch block. So if something went wrong, we can console.log error. Otherwise, we can return the data as res dot. You can see rows because full name is not defined. So why is that? Cannot read the property of full name. This. Okay, so we want to also fetch the whole profile of the user. So we can ask the ChatGPT to modify our queries. So we also want to fetch the user author details as well. So it will say that profiles.user. Yeah, so we can now fetch the whole thing here as well. So let's copy this thing, Control D, Control V, remove the extra comma, and it is good. So you can see profiles.username. So we are getting the profiles.username as well. We are getting profiles.full name as well. So if you save this, now it should not complain. Good. Now it is not complaining. So here, if we refresh this thing, okay, something is wrong here. Missing from close from entry. Okay. So we haven't copied it correctly. So left join joins profile. So we have to join the profile table as well. So we are left joining the tweet table, left join likes, join and group by. Yeah, so we have to correctly fix our query. Group by and then order by. So this is a big query you can see, but yeah, we have to do this. Now we are getting something. We are getting text, username, full name, everything directly without any hassle. So what we can do here, we have to modify this thing. Here we are saying tweet.profile. So instead of profiles, we can directly save this thing. Now it's good. You can see we are directly getting everything. So if we hit refresh, this is being rendered one time. But the likes count is still not visible. Why is that? Tweet.likes count. Okay, so this is likes count. Now it is visible, you can see. And if we try to click here, you can see this is updated. If we try to click, this is updated. And we are also not bombarding our database with a lot of requests. So if you hit refresh, we now have something 16,000 or 17,000 requests in the last 60 minutes. But it will, now we have removed every complexity from our application, like a lot of requests we were doing in the last video. So this is the only time we have to specifically query a single SQL query. Otherwise, we don't need to do this. Okay, so you can go here and you can refresh this a hell lot of time, and this will not, you can see 4,309. If you hit refresh, if you try to refresh this, it is not changed a lot. You can see this is cool. So now we can like this tweet, remove our like, and here as well. Okay, so if we are not logged in, we are not able to see any tweets. That is not the way I want. So if I open this tab in the new tab, this is not, we are not able to see any. Why is that? Syntax error at or near from. So this is a bad thing, like not using an ORM, because it will make our life complicated. As you can see here, query without current user ID. If current user exists, then query is query. So let's see what is the problem we are facing here. Profiles.fullname. What is the problem here we are getting? This is the same likes.tweet ID, profiles, everything seems good to me. Let's remove this current ID thing and let's see if we are still getting a problem. Yeah, so we will fix this problem in the next video. I think we have done a lot of stuff in this video. So I have explained you how you can optimize your web application so that a lot of users can use it many times and you will not bombard your server with a lot of requests from clients. Now, if you refresh, you can see we are not bombarding our server. Okay, cool. So that's all for this video. In the next video, we will implement more such a things. Thank you.